We're going to discuss now the frequency offset compensation in a communication system. So in this case, what is frequency offset? Well, in optical communications, we have two lasers that are used in coherent detection. There's one laser which is used to transmit the information, and there's a second laser located at the receiver, a local oscillator, a local laser, which beats against the received signal in order to detect variations in phase and amplitude in coherent detection. So because these are two physical lasers, although they nominally have the same wavelength, in fact, they could have some frequency offset between them. So because they are physically separated, if we could even have a system where I have a distributed laser. So I have a laser which generated my bits, and that somehow that same laser is being used in the local oscillator. So, but because the signal has gone through some physical transmission, short, long, distance, I don't know, but that could have perturbed the wavelength, and it's possible that the different physical paths have somehow introduced a frequency offset. So frequency offset is a problem that we have to assume exists and to deal with it. It's distinct from phase noise, something I want to mention. The phase noise is a sort of constant drift in the phase of the laser, and that, of course, is there. But and there's a whole different method of dealing with the fact that there is phase noise. In the analysis I'm going to present now, and in the methods that we're going to use to compensate for this frequency offset, we're going to completely neglect this phase noise because it's of a different size and behavior, and it doesn't really enter into or impact the frequency offset estimation that we're going to discuss. So let's use the model described in this reference paper that describes how we do frequency offset estimation. So here is a description for the received signal, and first thing you'll notice is there's a P index in here, and that refers to polarization. So there's two different polarization states which are being transmitted. I'm looking at the signal received on one of these polarizations. So the received polarization is going to be made up of a signal portion and a noise portion. So the signal portion, I have the data in there, and of course I have the carrier. The carrier is here. But this part is the signal and the data, and this part is the additive noise. Now in the laser, the carrier, I have something in here which I call the phase offset. So this is not a frequency offset, a phase offset. So these are physically separate lasers. Maybe there's some phase offset, but whatever it is, it's not phase noise. There's just some offset, it's fixed, that might enter into the equation. We have an index K here. K is a time index, so the sampling interval that I'm sampling at. So finally we have the last term in our equation, which we see here, and this is represents a phase component in this exponent, which is linearly varying with time. So K is the time index, and here we have some sort of frequency offset. So a phase varying with time, that's frequency offset. And of course, in our sampled signal, where TS is the sampling time, this is the equivalent of some delta in the frequency, some difference in the frequency from these two sources beating against each other, multiplied by this time, the sampling time. So one thing that's very important to realize is that in this received signal, we have the signal data portion, which is modulated, and it's changing every bit, right? It's a different value, +1, -1, whatever's going on the modulation. It's very fast. It's changing every bit interval, and because of that, it makes it hard for us to see what's going on with the frequency offset. So what we have to do is remove this modulation. And the way that we strip off the modulation is to raise this quantity to the 4th power. If we take the signal, the data signal, we raise it to the 4th power. For BPSK, for sure it's a constant. For QPSK, quaternary phase shift keying. It's a constant. And for higher order modulations, larger, it also works. I'm not going to say too much about it. It's not a fixed constant, but at least it's constant in the mean, which is good enough. So I say I'm going to raise it to the 4th power, so I take the received signal to the 4th power. So now my data portion, I'm going to call it just some amplitude, some fixed constant value. Maybe if it's QAM, it's actually the mean is constant, but suppose it's BPSK, QPSK, it's constant. And of course I also have the 4th, which is here multiplying my frequencies here, my frequency offset. The noise has been raised to the 4th power. Something's going on, it's no longer Gaussian, but it's sort of Gaussian. So first of all, as I mentioned, this AP is absolutely constant for QPSK, constant in the mean for QAM, and there is some observation noise, which, you know, nominally was Gaussian noise to the 4th power, but actually it has some statistics for which we can say it's an observation noise, which is zero mean, and it does not enter into our estimation technique other than, you know, causing some problems because it's noisy. So what we're going to do is we're going to neglect the noise in our system for coming up with an offset estimation. We're going to normalize the amplitude. We're going to sort of skip, I don't care what amplitude it is, I'm just going to put it to 1. And I'm going to ignore this phase offset because you know, it's not going to obscure our frequency offset estimation, so we can just for ease of analysis put it to 0. So what we're left with is this factor of 4, which is going to multiply our frequency offset. So essentially, after we've done those approximations, I guess I still have my offset here, but still I've neglected the noise, put the amplitude to 1, and basically I have something which is a tone. This is just a tone, an exponential, a complex exponential, which is 1 frequency, but it's at 4 times the frequency of the true offset. Of course, if I only look at the amplitude, this phase offset won't matter. That's why I can ignore it. So when I want to find out where is that tone, because I want to get rid of it, it's a 2-step process. And this is 2 steps because that increases the speed, doesn't take so long to do this, and it also increases the accuracy. So the step 1 is to do a coarse estimate. And the coarse estimate uses a fast frequency transform of a reasonable size. So I don't need my whole data stream, which would be very slow and complex to compute an FFT, but I find I take a FFT of some subset of my data. And I just take that FFT and I say, where's the maximum? Because the tone should be falling, it should have a maximum. Problem is that there's noise obscuring it, and this isn't the most accurate way of finding where is the offset, but it is fast. So for speed, we do this coarse estimate. Now in the fine estimate, I'm going to take that coarse estimate and now do some fancy localization within it. For one thing, I'm going to use a different technique for estimating the peak that I'm looking for in my tone. So the coarse estimation, quite simple. You know, I take some subset of my total amount of data. I enter in my data and I have my sampling rate, which is available to me. And I pick some size of my FFT, which is a reasonable size for complexity. I, of course, put my subset of the data to the 4th power. I calculate the FFT, and I look where is it the maximum, and then I say what frequency is it that this fell at, this maximum that occurred. Okay, so this becomes, but of course this is 4 times the one that I'm trying to estimate, so my coarse estimate would be where this maximum occurs divided by 4. But it's kind of smeared, there's a lot of noise, the FFT is not necessarily the best way to do it, so this is a first coarse approximation. The second step is a fine estimation, and for the fine estimation we use a periodogram. A periodogram it's like an FFT, but in this case I understand that noise is present, and because noise is present I'm using let's say a more sophisticated method of estimating the spectrum than I would in FFTs, which gives me finer resolution and allows me to make better determination of the true frequency offset. So once I've sort of telling you here that I take the signal to fourth power and I do this periodogram, then I sort of use an iterative method around the coarse estimation. So I have the original coarse estimate. I have a certain range, I think it's somewhere, the true value is somewhere in this range that I got from my coarse estimate. And I start calculating what is this more accurate approximation of the spectrum, the power spectral density of the signal, and I try to look for a better peak finder. And so I do this a couple times, iterate in it until I eliminate the little maxima, and I focus in on the real maxima until I get to my final frequency offset estimation. So this is a compromise on time and accuracy. Here's the accuracy part. So our final estimate, of course, you get out this fine, at the output, I have the final peak that has been detected with great accuracy. Of course, I divide by 4 so that I get strip off that factor of 4, and then I apply the inverse to whatever my received signal was. So this is the one with the offset. Here I have the negative. I multiply by what my estimate of the offset is. Now I've gotten rid of the frequency offset. So the first is a low complexity FFT approach, and it uses a subset of the data enough. I just wanted to say one other thing, that the subset of the data, it might be that the frequency offset is changing. Usually it's changing extremely slowly, but if you start up the system, you might have to redo it. But there's no need to do a very high complexity estimate because this approach is good enough.